Whitt Lee needed to make money, so in 1914 he started a business hauling people around using a horse and buggy. Little did he know that he had started a business that would develop into one of the largest truck lines in America. Lee moved his business on to Oklahoma City in 1934 and started a trucking business known as Leeway Motor Freight. Lee covered routes in Oklahoma City to the Texas Panhandle and into New Mexico. Enter the U.S. government and the Motor Carrier Act of 1935. The act allowed the Interstate Commerce Commission to regulate the trucking industry. Under the ICC, carriers were generally limited to existing routes. The easiest way to expand was to acquire another carrier and its operating authority for its routes. I've talked extensively about the ICC in my Campbell 66 video and my Ringsby video. If you missed them, there's a link in the description below, and I highly suggest you go back and watch them to learn about the ICC. Also, take a quick moment to subscribe to my channel and grab my free copy of the DCP by First Gear's Fallen Flags series of 1/64 scale trucks, with another link down in the description. I also included a link to my store where you can find many of the Fallen Flags series, including the Leeway truck, while supplies last. Lee adapted quickly to the regulations put on by the ICC, and he began adding routes and equipment by buying out other truck lines. During the period between 1944 to 1945, Leeway became one of 103 carriers in Lee's operating area to be taken over by the government to assist with the war effort. After the war ended, the company was returned to its management. Leeway management focused on quality service, expansion, and safety. Soon, Leeway added Kansas and Missouri to its routing guide and purchased the operating rights of Sooner freight lines. The company was often referred to as Leeway Sooner Freight Lines or just Leeway. Growth continued through the 50s and 60s. 1959 saw Leeway offering service to Colorado. Summit Fast Freight and routes were acquired by Leeway, opening up routes to Illinois, Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. 1961 saw Leeway acquiring Illinois California Express, which was based in Denver, Colorado. This made Leeway the 6th largest motor carrier in the United States. Leeway now had terminals in 14 states and over 20,000 route miles. Leeway was not through expanding. In 1965, Leeway acquired Texas, Arizona Motor Freight and its routes. In 1971, with the acquisition of Atlanta-based Theater Services, Inc., Leeway gained access to the southeastern markets. Expansion leads to trouble for Leeway. Union trouble cost Leeway a loss in net profits. A 1973 judgment against Leeway found Leeway guilty of discriminatory hiring practices. Soon after, in 1975, Lee's sons, who now ran the company, decided to sell the firm to PepsiCo. The sale was completed in 1976. Deregulation under the Carter administration changed the trucking industry very, very quickly. So PepsiCo decided to leave the trucking industry altogether and sold Leeway Motor Freight to Commercial Loveless Motor Freight. By the end of 1984, Commercial Loveless elected to close Leeway. The following year, Commercial Loveless Motor Freight declared bankruptcy. It's been often said that nothing lasts forever. By and large, that is true. The trucking industry is a highly competitive industry. The trucks took a lot of the railroad freight business away from them because trucks were not confined to the rails and can go almost anywhere. In the beginning, the small trucking companies were gobbled up by the larger companies. Regulations imposed by government caused problems for the trucking industry. Deregulation caused even more problems, especially for the big truck lines. But as a whole, the trucking industry has survived. Now it's the electric truck coming on the scene. The old saying applies: adapt and survive. But we should always remember and honor the past to not repeat the mistakes and take perspective on the future. Like with the Fallen Flag series by First Gear. And here we go, guys. This is a 1/64 scale Mack B61 tandem axle day cab tractor with 40-foot dry van trailer for Leeway Motor Freight Inc. It's made by First Gear, and it's in their Fallen Flag series in 1/64th scale. And on top of it, we have a little bonus here. It's a 1/87th scale white Freightliner COE with exterior post 40-foot trailer for Leeway. This one is made by Athearn. I'll start off talking about the First Gear version, though. And here is the trailer. It is, again, their older graphics with the dark green. They went to an all-yellow paint scheme later on, but this is their older graphics. Very, very beautiful graphics. It's got the big black stripe with the Leeway Motor Freight Inc. in yellow lettering on the side. It's got its weights and other numbers right there on the front. It rides on 6-spoke Dayton wheels, which would be the Mack wheels. Landing gear is here, all plastic. The base on this is plastic. The trailer itself is die cast. It has its marker lights in the places they're supposed to be. Underneath, you can see a really nice vintage tread pattern tire, and it has a spare tire carrier with a spare tire and rim. Now, the rims on these are painted silver, but the rim on the spare tire is actually chrome plated. But that's alright, it'll be fine. There's a date of manufacture of 10219, so this was made on the 102nd day of 2019 when this truck was made. Round to the back, it has just plain Leeway graphics, no striping, just Leeway in the yellow and a trailer number of 1094. There's also 2 brake lights, and they're just little red tampos, and then all black mud flaps. The trailer doors do not open on this trailer. Round on the passenger side, the same great graphics. Round to the front, you can see how that stripe goes up, and then it goes up to the roof, and then has a little chevron in it pointing down to the Leeway, and then there's the trailer number of 1094. Roof of the trailer is just silver. Now, this landing gear doesn't go up and down. It's fixed in place, and it has a kingpin for First Gear, DCP, Advantage Diecast, top shelf replicas, and anything with a straight kingpin, and Neo scale models trucks. This is First Gear's all diecast version of the Mack B model. It has beautiful Leeway graphics on the door. It has its ICC number, weights, and everything else that's required, plus the Leeway logo. There's also a truck number of 879 right there in front of the mirror. It has hard plastic mirrors and hard plastic air horns. The grille and the deck plate, the quarter fenders, and the exhaust, along with the air horns and the mirrors, are chrome plated on this one. It has the 6-spoke Mack style wheels with yellow spokes, silver rims, and silver center caps. Fuel tank is here with filler cap and battery box there. It also has other Mack molding pieces and logos tampoed on the side of the hood, along with the it has the hood latch. Turn signals are individual pieces painted yellow. Up top, you can see the air horns and then the roof clearance lights, which are molded into the cab and then tampoed silver with orange paint to simulate the amber lenses. You can also see the chrome deck plate here, and you can see the 2 chrome quarter fenders. The fifth wheel pivots just a little bit like the real ones do, and it's for their first gear trailers. Round towards the front, it has hard plastic front windshield with windshield wipers molded into it, and then a little bit of silver paint tampoed onto them. There's also a Mack style grill here. It has Mack written right there and the Bulldog. You can see that Bulldog is really impressive for this size, and it is a chrome plated piece. The bars in the grill. The headlights are individual jewel style pieces, but the driving lights there are just tampos of silver on the black fenders, and then it's got the 2 individual pieces for the turn signals. The bumper here is a straight Mack style bumper, really common for the era, thin and painted black. The cab is a Leeway dark green, which is kind of a forest green with black fenders and a black frame. On the passenger side, similar graphics. You see the big Mack style muffler here, and it has the exhaust tip turned out and back a little bit, which was classic of B model Macks with this great big thick muffler. Air intake is right here. Very easy to change your air filter and get to it. Chrome mirror and a door handle. Also, it's got the fuel tanks right there. Round to the back, classic of the era, a single brake light on one side, and it is painted red. It's not an individual jewel piece. You've got your individual mud flaps here, and they are hard plastic. Tipped up a little bit, you can see the top of the rear differential where the drive shaft comes into the top and is geared down into it. You can also see the nice vintage tread. Now these wheels are set a little wide, but I won't worry about it. The tires are a great tread pattern, and they are a narrower tire than what we're used to today because they ran a little bit narrower back then, but they still should have been a little closer together. Also, these tires are a little bit bigger in diameter since they ran 20s back in the day, and these here are more like 26s. But no complaints. Back of the cab has some great detail that was just like the real ones, and a hard plastic window. Underneath here, we can see it has big, heavy Mack style differentials on the rear axles. It has a real nice suspension system. Drive shaft, bottom of the engine and transmission detail, bottom of the fuel tanks, and it has nice spring front suspension that does not steer. No steering front axle on this truck, but that's nothing to worry about. Also, the hood doesn't open, nor do the doors, but butterfly hoods in this scale would be very hard to make. They've been done, but they would be very hard to make, and they would not be cheap. Now let's pick up this other little guy. I just happened to find this one in my collection. It is an old Athearn piece in 1/87 scale. And Athearn made these in all plastic, but I'm not going to worry about all plastic because HO guys don't really care one bit. It's their exterior post 40-foot trailer. It has the Leeway motor freight graphics there and there. It has yellow 5-spoke wheels and vintage tread pattern, and the spokes and the rims are painted yellow and the tires are black. Now these tires are all plastic. There's no soft rubber. They're all hard plastic. Top of the trailer is just silver. Going underneath, we have the kingpin for Athearn and Classic Metalworks style tractors. It has the old wheel style, the old steel wheel style landing gear that's fixed in the up position with a little crank, and it has the rails where the axles would slide, but they don't slide. Maybe, oh wait,
they do slide. I forgot. On these guys, they have this little lever here, which allows you to flip it up and slide them. You can see they actually slide. It'd be nice if they do that on DCP trailers, make them slide, but they don't. The air tank for the trailer supply, and then it has spring suspension. Round to the back, this one has a roll-up door on it. It says Leeway and a trailer number 45033. Roof clearance lights and 2 brake lights. Also, it just has hard plastic mud flaps, just like the other one, and they're all black. They don't have Leeway logos. Round to the passenger side, looks exactly the same as the driver's, except for it doesn't have a crank on the landing gear down there. Come around to the front, and it says Leeway. It has line hookups for your airlines and your brake lines, and it says Leeway here, and then there's that same trailer number up in the corner where the driver could see it easily backing up. Really nice. It is an all plastic trailer, but HO guys don't mind all plastic. Now we'll look at the tractor here. Isn't that cool? The old vintage 50s, 60s, 70s white Freightliner. They did not change that design hardly at all. All they did was, eventually they molded in the steps, whereas these have got the steel loops. It's got 6-hole front wheels and 6-hole rear wheels. Bud style wheels. They're painted yellow, and then they got the black tires. You can see your fuel tank is there. Grab bars are just molded in and then tampoed silver. It has its weight there, and it has ICC numbers there and the Leeway graphics there. Also, they put the upper roof fairing on here and nice mirrors. Round to the front, you can see how Freightliner, they hung their turn signal on their COEs off of the mirror bracket. Simpler than actually molding it into the cab, and less likely probably to get broken hanging there than down here. It has a chrome grille, and it says White Freightliner and the White Freightliner coat hanger logo up above the grille. The 2 windshield wipers on this one are actually individual parts. Hard plastic windows with a nice detailed interior. It's got 2 seats, steering wheel, dashboard. Really nice. This is the dual style headlights. So you've got 2 headlights on each side. They got a little chrome piece that is implanted, and then they tampoed the lenses white. This has a straight bumper. Now note, it doesn't go all the way to the edges because they had these bumpers so far back, if they took a little knock, they'd hit into the wheel, so most of the guys had them cut off and ran shorter bumpers that didn't go all the way out to the wheel. Not sure if that was a great idea or not. Up here, you can see it has that roof fairing. Passenger side, very much like the other side. Steps, everything else. Only it has the exhaust over here behind the cab on the one side. Single exhaust with muffler. Round to the back, you can see it has a little detail under the hood and no real engine detail, but you can see it has the hole and it's right there. Now these cabs don't tilt. It has its 5th wheel that pivots a little bit, and it is set up for Athearn Classic Metalworks type trailers. You have your mud flaps, and your bracket is painted silver. Underneath, no steering axles on these. Drive shaft, differentials, and spring suspension on each axle, and a little base bottom of the engine detail there. Up on top, classic of the era, single air horn, and then it has the roof clearance lights that are molded in and tampoed silver and orange for lenses. And then there's the top of that single exhaust. Also up here on the air dam, it says Leeway with the truck number of 2723, and then down here on the front, it also has the truck number 2723. Pretty cool. Now let's hook this guy back up. As I said, I just happened to find this little Athearn in my collection on the shelf, so I thought I'd include it, talking about the Leeway. You can see in 87th scale, the whole truck is the length of the trailer in 1/64 scale. So it does actually give you a pretty good size reference to how big a truck and a trailer is in 87th and 64th. And since I didn't show it at the beginning, here it is in the box. It comes in their slightly smaller box. It's not as tall and not as wide as the other boxes, but it holds this Mack B61 very well. DCP by First Gear, and it ends a 2-piece blister. Item number on this truck is 60-0572. And this is the 1/64 scale Mack B61 with 40-foot vintage dry van trailer by First Gear in their Fallen Flag series for Leeway motor freight, with bonus Athearn 1/87th scale white Freightliner COE with 40-foot outside rib trailer for Leeway motor freight.
Leeway played a major role in the growth of America. Will their memory be forgotten, or will you add one of these models to your collection to keep the fallen flag alive? There is a link in the description below to purchase one of these models until supplies run out. Also, I have a link to my Fallen Flags listing that gives you a picture and a description of the entire series to date. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel for more great Diecast product reviews. I'm Logan, the 64th Gear Jammer Skeele, founder of Advantage Diecast, and I'll be back soon with another episode of Toy Talk.